Guys, the 2025 offseason is in full swing right now. Transfer portal is going crazy. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the top additions that have happened so far. A lot of this is going to be out of the top 50 according to 247 Sports. So if you have any problems with our rankings, take it up with them, not up to us. We're going to start off though, Quinn. I want to go to you first here. What's kind of your two or three that you like, or any trends you see?
All right, so my number one trend that I've been seeing in the transfer portal this offseason, I want to point your attention to Kevin Coleman Jr. going from Mississippi State north to Missouri, all right, and Damon Wilson II transferring out of Georgia and taking his talents also to Drinkwitz in Missouri. I think what this is showing me, and this is my big takeaway I'm seeing, and I like what I'm seeing, it's building multiple years, is that Drake kind of understands that Missouri is never going to be a school where he's going to be able to build up the massive recruiting base necessary to make yourself a powerhouse a la an Ohio State or a Georgia or a Michigan or an Alabama, right? However, it is a big enough school with a decent enough reputation and a large enough fan base that can offer you a really good rebound landing spot to compete in a strong conference. And he's building that into multiple competitive units. And I think these two additions show me at least that that's going to continue in the future with Drake. Now, I'm not going to get on here and tell you right now in the middle of February that Missouri's making the playoff. I'm not insane. I'm not going to do that. But it is showing me a consistent pattern that tells me Missouri's done with the days of being like below 500. They're going to consistently be 8, 9, 10 win teams pretty much every single season. That's how I feel after what I see on these additions.
That's a hot take, Chase.
I'm just telling you.
I'm not going to mention anything about Missouri because I'll get on a soapbox for a couple hours. So we just won't go there. I've got a couple, actually three for you, Freddie. I'll just mention all three real quick. I like Luke Haas from Arkansas going to Ole Miss. I think that's a big pickup for the next quarterback because I think they're going to go young with a sophomore, the lefty. I forget his name. Um, I think Haas will be a really good. I think he had a down year because of injuries and stuff this past season, so he didn't get to play a whole lot. But I think he's a really big pass catching tight end. He's going to be a junior as well, so I think it's going to be really huge for Ole Miss. I really like that pickup, and Ole Miss has always kind of had sneaky tight ends. If you look at the NFL now, what's his face? I'm thinking of Dawson Knox is one of them that comes to mind. Evan Ingram, another one. So I like Luke Haas there, big pass catching tight end. One that really hurts, but I think he's going to be absolutely amazing at this next place because the type of football that they play is Justice Haynes to Michigan. I think that is going to be a marriage fit for the heavens. Haynes wants the ball more, and Michigan loves to build up the trenches and run the freaking ball. If they don't do that next year, because they kind of went away from it this year with Donovan Edwards, they are extremely stupid. I think Justice Haynes could easily be a Blake Corum type where he's in the Heisman hunt throughout the year because of how well that line is going to be fixed around him and the type of carries he'll have. Because he averaged nearly 6 yards a carry this year and had nearly 500 yards on limited touches. So, kid's going to be amazing there. Love him. And then let me go under the radar for you guys a little bit, okay? We got Fluff Bothwell. His real name is like Demarion, I think it is. I might be wrong on that. Hold on, let me double check that real quick, guys. 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. He was the 101st guy in the transfer portal. His name is actually, oh, it is Demarion. Come on, Chase, pull. Fluff Bothwell. Kid was a stud at South Alabama. If you didn't know his name, I am so sorry. Averaged 7.5 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns on the season as a true freshman from Aniana, Alabama. Now he goes to Mississippi State. He's going to play in the SEC. I think that is an enormous pickup. Great for him, too. Going to South Alabama for 1 year. This is the cool stuff about the transfer portal. I think it's not about like the DJ Ukuleles that are transferring 6 times in one season, but it's guys like this that like kind of shot low first off or didn't get noticed as much because he's a smaller prospect and then absolutely lights it up on the field. And now he gets to go to the big leagues in the SEC, one of the premier conferences. Going from a group of five to the SEC in one season is awesome. So 5'10", 220, and he'll be a sophomore running back. I think it's going to be huge and really good for the Jeff Levy Mississippi State offense next season. Have a little scat back out of the backfield and everything. I love that one. I think that's the favorite out of my three, just to see the level that he's jumped up. But I really like the Justice Haynes as well, just because, again, that is going to be an amazing marriage up there in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I want to echo that. That is what the transfer portal is for, right? You look at what was the running back's name for Missouri last year? I guess at this
Cody
point,
Schrader.
yes, like that type of story is what the transfer portal is for, not the DJ Uyungleleles or anything like that. Whatever. Okay. Now that that's over with, you guys didn't mention him because I know we kind of have a difference of opinion here, and that's Carson Beck going from Georgia to Miami. I know, Chase, I know you hate it, but Carson Beck has two of the top five passing seasons in Georgia history. That's big time. It's especially at a university like Georgia. To go to somewhere like Miami, who may not have the prestige currently, who may not have as many good skill position players, but you got to think, man, Georgia led the league in drops last year. Miami didn't. I don't care if the top receiver's gone. It doesn't matter. They were nowhere near the worst team whenever it comes to drop balls. So if that's the case next year, then Carson Beck is going to have a stellar year yet again. And I think he's going to be able to help Miami continue to stay relevant in that 9-10 win category, at least for next year. And this could be the model for Miami. You know, they went out and got Carson Ward. Go ahead, Quinn.
You finish your thought. I want to add something when you're done. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, this could be the model for them moving forward because they went out and got Cam Ward, who turns out to be, you know, had an amazing season for Miami, won them a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have won in the one-score games in the Heisman hunt. Not saying Carson Beck's going to do that and be in the Heisman hunt, but let's be real. He was a Heisman contender this year. And for whatever reason, he started throwing interceptions. His guys wasn't catching the ball. So a lot of bad things happened for him at Georgia. He goes to Miami, and I think some of those change. Quinn?
Well, and I think this is a really good one to point out. I think it's a no-brainer move. Like, one, Georgia's got people running right and left out of their program right now in the transfer portal. All right. Number two, your team led the league in drop passes. And then number three, you get to go make $10 million and hang out with your girlfriend in South Beach. That's a pretty no-brainer move. I'm jealous that you got this one and I overlooked this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there because I think this is not only a good idea for Miami to bring in Beck, but also just Beck on his end because he probably wasn't going to be before a late day 2 pick after this season, in my opinion. Now he can rebuild up his draft stock for himself and potentially jump back into the top 5 next year as a guy, because look what Cam Ward did. And you're playing in a weaker conference in the SEC, I mean, we could be talking about Beck in the top 5, top 10 next year.
You hinted at it, Freddie. Do you think this is something that can become a long-term thing for Miami? You're talking about a fun location to be in, a school that can afford to pay big bucks, and a place where you can make a mega brand for yourself as a quarterback right before you go into the draft.
I think
this could
so.
Be a long-term thing.
I think so, because I think Miami is in a unique position where they have all of the extra things to add in addition to money. It's Miami, baby. What else can you say? You're on the beach. It's beautiful. The weather is perfect year round. Like, there is a lot of stuff that goes Miami's way. So I do see this kind of being a thing long term. I just wonder how sustainable it is year over year. You could get a Cam Ward every 4 years or a Carson Beck every 4 years. Can you do it year after year? That's going to be the question. And that's the risk that you run with the transfer portal.
What I'll add as well is if you do something like this every single year, even get a guy that might be there for a year or two, you have to have a Cam Newton level player to ever win anything significant, in my opinion. Like Carson Beck, Cam Ward, they're great quarterbacks, but can they take you to the promised land of a national championship? I just don't see that happening. I think you have to have a this guy's going to come in for a year. This guy's Cam Newton-like, and he can absolutely just take us all the way through. Definitely with the gauntlet of the playoffs now, where you're adding another 2 games before a national championship almost. You really have to have somebody that just
Well, I don't think that, because Will Howard just won a national title at Ohio State, and he's not a Cam Newton. Let's just keep it real.
No,
Yes,
yeah, but
they had a team around him too that
Yeah.
helped him, but who's to say that Miami can't do that as well?
yeah,
Over the course of 4 years, that
I
would
was-
be my
I-
response.
I was gonna say it could build up brand recognition, help them easily build a super roster outside of the talent in like Florida, and then you start putting yourself in a position to do what Ohio State did with Will Howard, 100%.
Yeah. So moving on from the Carson Beck, that was a great conversation about Carson Beck. Another one is a thought and also a player. Eric Singleton Jr. going from Georgia Tech to Auburn is a huge pickup for Auburn and Hugh Freeze. And another thought along with that, Auburn has 2 of the top 10 players in the transfer portal. That's big time, especially when you've had a lot of years in recent memory of being really bad. Auburn is a school that traditionally is good at football, and to see them not be good is not good for the sport. It's not good for the SEC. It's not good for the rivalries. Nobody enjoys seeing Auburn suck besides Alabama fans. I'm just going to point that out. I, for one, enjoy when Auburn is good and then Alabama beats them. That's what I enjoy seeing. Crush their dreams. But Quinn, you had one more thing that you wanted to talk about regarding Georgia and the transfers out, right?
Yeah, I kind of hit on it a little bit with Carson Beck, but if you notice in this like top 50, Georgia or top 100, Georgia has a lot of players going out. Do we think that we could be seeing the early downfall of the Kirby dynasty at Georgia? And before I sound like I'm hitting a panic button, hear me out, hear me out. A lot of historic college coaching careers really only last like 3 to 7 seasons. All right. I would argue that the Kirby Georgia run really kind of started in 2017. So we're pretty deep into Georgia being a consistent like contender. Do you think we're starting to see the waning of that? Or do you think this is just a temporary blip in the road and they're going to be right back to what they were 3-4 years ago?
Well, I want to go first on this actually because I think this is a great idea. I don't think it's a blip in the road. I don't think you have blips in the road anymore in college football because of the transfer portal, NIL, and how you have to constantly be like coaching was already a 24/7 job beforehand. Now it's 25/8. You have to do it consistently all the time to get other players, to get your own players, to recruit high school players. Like you have to do everything imaginable to keep your team structurally sound. And it's just all the dang time. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of these coaches either, hey, I'm going to go to the NFL. Hey, I'm going to go down from a head coaching to an offensive coordinator position. And so for Kirby, you've already heard the rumors of, oh, this could be Atlanta's next head coach in the NFL. And that's before Raheem Morris got the job this year. But who's to say Kirby Smart doesn't make that jump in a year and pull like a Pete Carroll type deal where he just becomes a successful head coach in the NFL? And so I think he's got what he's kind of needed in college football. I know he's a college football guy through and through. That's another thing. He's a lot like Nick Saban. I don't think he would do as well in the NFL, but it is hard to keep your team together all the time. And that stress, can you continually do it and be like the times of Nick Saban it's gone. Like you will never have that again unless there's just some serious restraints that come into the NIL transfer portal world. And hopefully there are, but the Nick Saban, hey, I can coach for 15, 17, 20 years, whatever, and be good nearly every year I'm there and have just amazing, amazing players on the field. I think that's dead and gone. And I think Kirby is going to be the last of that.
I don't want to press the panic button. I think it's something to watch, but I think this could also be a product of that Georgia is so deep, right? Like you even saw this when Alabama was winning national championships left and right. Players were leaving, transferring, and it's because they're so deep. They're 3-4 deep at every position. And I think that's just a byproduct of recruiting in the top 3 year over year and getting 30 some odd kids, per cycle. Like, that's a lot of talent that you're hoarding up. Now, I say that I think Kirby is the best coach in college football. He's a very good recruiter. I don't think he's a good general manager. And I think that that's why teams are going to start implementing a general manager role like Courtney Morgan at Alabama. And I think that that is going to be one of the most coveted jobs in college football, because if you can keep a roster intact, over the course of 2 to 3 years with the same core guys, you're going to earn your money. And I wouldn't be surprised if these general managers start earning more than head coaches in the near future.
Interesting.
That's something to watch moving forward, because it's very, very important now to keep your guys.
I think we could see a switch that's similar to the league where, coaches don't make this crazy paychecks in the league like you think they would, because of the role a GM plays in building up a roster. I think you might be onto something with that. I could see the days of these like crazy head coach contracts that used to come out will be gone, because I could see where they start kind of losing some of that to build up the GM role.
Yeah, it's very possible. Guys, let us know down below any transfers that we missed. Do you hate the guys that we talked about? Who should we be on the lookout for? And how is your team doing in the transfer portal? Let us know down below. 3 Bold Takes, Freddie, Chase, and Quinn. We will see you guys in the next one.